Go. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this October 8th Board of Education meeting to order at 6:30. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, do we have any public comment tonight? Seeing none in the room, do we have any online? Don't see any online either, so we can move into our first agenda item, correspondence. Troy, do you have any correspondence?
I do not.
Okay, I do not either. We can move into reports. So we have our student ambassadors tonight. Do you guys have some stuff you want to talk about? Yeah, you could just grab that.
Hello, everyone. So we had a good transition back to school, a lot of new students and 10 additional students from Voluntown and our Preston districts. Back to school night, and Wheeler had a senior informational night with the parents. They went over all the stuff that's going to happen this school year and all the expectations. So that turned out good. And then we had all our grade level meetings, freshman through senior, and those were all good. You know, we have those every quarter. So it's just kind of like a checkup that we do. So those all went very well. Updates to our school climate policy and evacuation lockdown drill information, went over all the basic stuff that we do every year. And moving on, the library redesign committee staff, they're meeting at the end of the month to start reviewing the plan for the media center, which they're kind of transforming to be more senior, junior friendly, and making some new renovations there to make it a more high school library instead of just a bunch of books. Yeah, they're very excited for the new space and the changes, and they're working hard at it. Fall sports are underway. High school, middle school have began practices and games. Middle school numbers were really high this year. Miss Mack and the coaches worked hard to create teams of safe numbers. So there were some cuts made even at the middle school levels, because, you know, we have the sixth graders also involved with that. So there was a lot of players who were tried out. So they made cuts, which is tough, but they turned out well. Last year, there were too many students on the team, so that feedback kind of just was adjusted this year. And last week, all Wheeler students participated in Start With Hello Week, which is designed to combat social isolation and create a more inclusive, connected school culture. It's a 3-step process. Participants who identify peers who are alone, reach out to them and strike up a conversation, start with hello, and foster a sense of belongingness and kindness, leading to safer and more supportive school environments. So that's how we started it off, and that was our transition so far.
And then for the upcoming events for the high school, we had, or some previous ones, we did have Block Island already, which was a super fun senior tradition. Then we have the bonfire coming up on October 29th. There was a date change for the PSATs. It was supposed to be today, along with the seniors who retook the SAT. The PSATs will now be on October 28th. We have Fall Fest on October 24th, and then possibly a Rome trip for some seniors over February break. And then elementary school news, they had the admin meet with every single grade to review cafeteria expectations for the start of the school year. The Unified Arts team met with each grade level to review playground expectations and rules. And throughout the year, they will be conducting universal screening for all students in both math and ELA. The 6th graders are now able to take band and chorus with the 7th and 8th grade students, and all 6th grade students will have their music class at Wheeler, whether it be chorus, band, or general music classes with Miss Francis. And has also allowed Miss Francis to start 4th and 5th grade chorus and band going into 4th grade as well. They had a very successful back to school night. And on Wednesday, 9/17, they held their game night for students who took part in either the summer reading or math challenge, where they enjoyed various activities and games along with ice cream. They began September with the Raise Crates fundraiser for the PTO, and the fundraiser recognizing students for performing acts of kindness. In addition to that, they held a kindness night on September 19th, where students completed acts of kindness together and came in that following Monday to some inspiring and kind words chalked out on the sidewalk, as well as on post-it notes throughout the cafeteria. They ended the fundraiser on September 30th. And then they had the authors of the Pathfinder series, which is a series of graphic novels. They visited the elementary school and they shared insights on how they became authors and how they came up with the Pathfinder series. And thanks to the PTO, each student received a copy of the first book in the series, The Mystery of the Moon Tower, and the authors signed them. And then there was just a big thanks to Melissa Mowry for putting out the amazing opportunity for the kids.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions or comments for our student ambassadors? Okay, so we will move on to policy. Troy sent us, I think, 4 mandated policies and then 3 bylaws for us to continue our work on. Troy, do you want to lead us through?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the first one, 3542.41, and that's the first one in your packet, is on professional standards for food service personnel. And basically, we need to have a policy that says we're going to have standards for the people working in the food service department. And it requires a regulation to be written with the specifics on that, like what kind of training, frequency of training, what that looks like. But so the policy itself is just basically saying we're going to have a regulation that describes what those professional standards would be in the training. On the first paragraph, you see the little squiggly lines right before school breakfast and school lunches. We're just going to delete those, and it'll read for school breakfast and school lunches and school lunches. And that's what that is. The second paragraph, we're going to have just business manager, director of finance there, not listed superintendent, assistant superintendent, because the business manager is the one that oversees the food service. But other than that, it's just a policy that says we have standards and we're going to develop a regulation that describes the details. And it's mandated. So there's that one. You want to go to the second one? Okay, yeah, sure. Questions on that one?
Yeah, I think that would,
Okay,
let's go,
sure.
we can even vote on them one by one.
Okay,
Just to be clear. Christine, do you have one?
I just have a couple real quick ones. So we currently offer school breakfast and school lunch.
Yes.
Okay, and then do we have a food service director?
We hire out someone, and Monique is her name. She functions as director, even though we want to do it. She's not on staff, so it's a contracted food service with her as the director.
Okay, and
But-
and she's going to have to be responsible to the business manager or to the finance?
Yes, yeah, and that's what happens now.
Okay,
That's currently happening.
okay. That's
Other-
my only question.
Other questions? Does anyone want to make a motion to accept this policy?
Make a motion to accept policy 3542.41.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Okay.
next one.
All right, the second policy, which is on the back side of page 2 of the first policy, it's called the minimum duty-free lunch periods for teachers. About 5 or 6 years ago, there was a new state law that was passed that required school districts to provide 30 minutes for teachers for their lunch, duty-free. But now, even though it is state law, you have to have a policy that says that. So that's all this simply is. And we've been doing that, obviously, through the state law, but now you have to have a policy.
Any
Mandated.
questions on that?
Do we want to make a motion and then have our questions during discussion?
That's a great idea. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve policy 4113.12.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Any questions on this? Any thoughts? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. opposed? Fantastic.
Okay, the third policy listed here, we want to hold off on that. This is not one that Lisa and I met with Lisa, I met with Chet, and we talked about some policies, but this isn't one that we really dug into or even talked about. So I think we need more time to look at it. And also, just so you know, we have another policy that's very similarly named. This is 4144.2. There's a 4144.1, which we actually have a lot of this language in. So we have to examine that policy to see like whether we really need both or not.
It's 5.
5144.2, and the other one I referred to is 5144.1. Yeah. So I would like to just, you can read through that if you'd like, but I think in a future meeting, we can bring this to you and the current policy we have that may actually cover this for us.
Is
But
this mandatory, this one you gave us?
It's a mandatory, but we have it covered
Okay.
in the current policy that we have, but we want to make sure that current policy is totally updated. So
The Cape manual does have both. And it has 5144.1 and 5144.2.
Are they both mandatory?
They're both listed as mandatory. This one is a new mandatory one. We're not required to have this quite yet. So the prior one was mandatory. This one, I brought this last second to Troy because of the fact that it was a policy that was brought up at the Learn Board of Directors meeting as a new mandatory policy coming through. However, it is not one that, like, they always give a buffer time period. So it's not mandatory immediately, but it will be mandatory. I have to be honest, off the top of my head, I don't know. But it's not something I can tell you right now. When I looked into 3 different other area boards, none of them even had the more recent one we have.
Okay, all right. So it's not pressing.
And it looks like this current policy that we're looking at references 5144.1. So I think it could be over time that this one ends up replacing it.
It may, so what happened with 5144.1 is that it had dated rollouts. So in 5144.1, it has, as of January of 2017, the Board of Ed must have this language. As of January 1 of 2018, it must have this language. As of 2019, it must have. And so I think that what eventually may happen is they phase out the prior one once they've rolled out all of those different pieces and it becomes this one. But for the moment, what it is there's slight differences between them. So
Thank you. So you want no action on that tonight?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the last one, 6141.323, internet acceptable use filtering, is in your packet. And of course, we would add the North Stonington Public Schools into that line at the top. This is basically just stating that we have to filter our internet so that people can't get on sites we don't want them to get on. And we do that, of course. But now you need to have, as a mandated policy, you have to have a policy that says you're filtering your internet. So that's what this policy does. You know, it also says you need to have an acceptable use policy signed by the parents and students, and we do that already. But it's just a mandated policy that basically states what we're already doing.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to approve policy 6141-323.
second.
Okay, any discussion?
So I just want to point out, because this was something that I was concerned about, it doesn't specify what type of filtering. I know that as a teacher, it used to be frustrating to me that websites that I needed to access to be able to plan lessons or set things up were not accessible to me because they weren't accessible to students. I teach at a middle school level, so even YouTube right now is not accessible to middle school age students because they changed their rules at the YouTube level. But I need YouTube at times to be able to do certain things that I do for my classroom. whether it be songs for a Spanish classroom or whatever. But this doesn't, it doesn't limit it. It's very broad. It basically just says you must have a filter. So
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
So the
So-
next three are bylaws, but Chet, maybe do you want to walk us through that?
yeah, happy to. So what was interesting is that because the original bylaws that were sent out were actually the Cape version of the bylaws, you've seen the Cape version of the bylaws and our version of the bylaws if you read both versions of the board packet that came out. 9271 and 9272 are exactly the same with the current CABE core manual and what we have in ours. This is another one of those where I'm not entirely sure why it was flagged as a possible discussion or controversy in place. They seem pretty vanilla to me. I think the big difference, so 9272, I know looking at it quickly, it looks like perhaps it has to do with data use as in use of the internet and things like that, but it's not. It simply refers to our responsibility as board members to maintain confidentiality of educational data that we come into contact with or personnel data that we come into contact with that the general public should not have. And again, I don't see anything in that personally that rings a, an alarm bell for me. 9321, I think we want to consider a couple of things for. That has to do with the time and place of meetings. And the big thing for me on that one has to do with the electronic aspect. We may want to add our own pieces into that because we have our own processes. For example, if we don't do an executive session when there is somebody virtual, and we may want to look into writing some piece into that to say that if we want that to be something continuing forward.
And the language seems very old. Chat, like if you look in
you
here,
know what's
like
funny? It does, and
the
it says things like
telegram,
telephone.
telegram. You might get a written waiver of notice or telegram.
So now here's what's funny though. It is the same language in the CABE core manual up to date one. So the new CABE policy, and I think the problem is that almost all the bylaws are based off of Robert's rules, and Robert's rules are old. And so they added in the piece for the electronic use, but the fact that it says may join by telephone or other electronic component or something like the wording is very awkward and strange, but I think that it's because it is Robert's rules based, but it is the most current version within CABE. So if we wanted to rewrite it, it would be on us. We can do that, and I'm happy to take a look at it and try and reword it so it sounds more up to date. I just would hate to, again, when it comes to bylaws, very few of these have anything to do with law per se. They have to do with the understanding of how we're going to run our meetings. So it's not going to be one of those where we look at it and go, oh shoot, we accidentally removed something that is a state legislative requirement. It's just going to be, do we like the way they run our meetings?
I think for this one, it does reference some of the open meeting stuff, right? But I like your idea of writing in our practices, because as a board, we made that decision for a reason, and if we memorialize that in our bylaws, then
I think it's important for us to do it.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that the CABE version of it actually doesn't want any of the electronic stuff in there. They actually state that they don't believe that board members should be able to attend virtually, although state law allows it. I think we've all had situations wherein attending electronically would have been our only option. And I think that we run it well because we have a good system here. Other places, if Brian were attending via my phone on speaker that was sitting in his seat, that would be frustrating and difficult. But the idea that we have a board up here and we can run the meeting with the presence of those other people, I think I like having that as an option. But I do think that we should put in the executive session piece. These are just first reads. We have to wait a full 4 weeks before we could even amend them. So it would just be what the board might like to see moving forward. Is there anything else people see in these other than that adjustment that they would like to see in a new version of the bylaws?
No, I agree with you, Chet. I'd like to see some language. I mean, obviously, these were written before Zoom and all of that, so maybe something that does bring it up to speed a little bit, you know, the comment about no, whatever, conference participation for executive session. I have a couple questions for you really quick on the first two.
Okay.
You know, we had talked before about if we're not going to make any changes, just to maybe say that they were reviewed
Yep.
with the current date or whatever date we use 4 weeks from now, just so that we have something beyond 07.
Well, and I think that the overall goal was that at the end, we were going to do all of them.
Okay.
But honestly, at the rate we're going, I don't know that it'll be before, you know, even if I get reelected in November, before that 4-year term is up,
Yeah.
because this seems like it's just
So we just
endless.
maybe do them as we. get
Maybe
to
we,
them.
and I'm wondering if maybe we do it at the end of each year. So in December, we can look at everything we've done this year and we can update everything for
For bylaws.
December of 2025 and have that up to date.
That's
So
a great idea.
We,
And then,
we,
do you know why they have to have all this bold language on like 92,
they're also
71? Like,
random, right?
Yeah, it's super random, like why.
Why is it
certain word-
honor all? It's not, it feels like it should be honor all, and then you bold national, state, and local laws,
And-
or bold laws and regulations.
And
No,
the word agent and then faithfully apply and implement, like, it's very strange to me. I'm just wondering if we can get rid of the bold print and just have it read normal. Okay.
I am perfectly happy to do that.
Okay.
Again, it reads the same way in the
Yeah.
CABE policy
Very
manual,
strange.
and I just don't.
It's super strange, so I don't know, I just am like, reading this is really weird, like, all right. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
There are other things that I think would be great in bold even in this, but definitely not the random things they folded. But and at first, when I saw it in my, so I've got, you know, this book that I cart around that has all of them in it. And when I saw it in ours, I was like, is this another one? Because I don't know if you remember, but a variety of our policies like would be half in Word in a different font, and then it would switch fonts, and then it would switch like the size of the font, and it was, but it wasn't us. It was CABE that did it, and it's still CABE. So
That would be nice. Any other questions for Chet on the bylaw situation?
can I ask, I know that the other bylaws aren't on here, but did everybody receive the CABE versions? And did anyone have concerns?
No.
Brilliant. Then I will consider those to be something to put on the agenda next time as a vote. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to new business and we have transition plan, but we also have Mary Beth Tavares here to talk about the Rome trip. I wondered if someone just wants to make a motion to flip flop those two so Mary Beth can talk about the Rome trip first.
I make a motion to flip section 7 sub A and section 7 sub B on our agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, come on up, Mary Beth. Thanks for joining us.
Have to turn this on. There we go. Thank you again for having me and for flipping. I am here to talk about, again, my name is Mary Beth Tavares. I am an English teacher at Wheeler High School, and I am running the Senior Travel Club this year. I was here last year, for those of you who remember, asking permission to take my Shakespeare class to London, which you did approve, and we went, and you weren't there last year, you were the first year, but we had a wonderful trip both years. It was fantastic, an amazing experience. Would you agree, Anna? Yes. So I'm back to talk about the possible Rome trip that Anna mentioned, and hopefully move it from possible to actual this evening. I do have some information if you want to hand those down, please. So when I came to Wheeler in 2010, there was a senior travel club at that time run by Deb Karpinski. And every year she would take a group of seniors. It was an optional trip to Disney World for a week. And that went on for several years until I believe COVID hit and shut down everything. And then it never gained momentum. This year I am the senior class advisor, and I had many students ask if I would revive it. Interestingly enough, the cost of Disney was over $3,000. So I came up with a Rome trip for about half that price. So if you look on, again, so the dates would be of our little February break, February 11th from the 17th. We would be departing Wednesday evening. So students would be expected to come to school that day. We did the same thing last year with Rome. We came to school and then we met back up at the school at 5 o'clock and we carpooled to Logan in Boston. The flight leaves at 8:50 in the evening. We fly overnight. Most of us sleep. And then we will arrive in Rome the following day at 4:25 in the afternoon. There is a layover in Amsterdam for a couple of hours. We wouldn't be leaving the airport, obviously, get to grab a little lunch and then get back on the flight to Rome. The price also includes transfers from the airport in Rome to the hotel and return, 5 nights accommodation at the Oxford Hotel in Rome, which if anyone's been, it's kind of near the Spanish Steps, so a very safe and wonderful area. It is also includes breakfast each morning at the Oxford Hotel. Then we would depart Rome on Tuesday, February 17th at 6 a.m. early, and we would be back in Boston for 1:40 p.m. And obviously we'd all be expected to be back to school chipper and happy on Wednesday. So the permission would be to not only take the children to Rome, but also knowing that we would miss 2 days of school. That would be Thursday, February 12th and Friday, February 13th. Knowing that our schedule is a block switch schedule, students would only be missing one class, one of every class. They wouldn't be missing any more than that. And they know, like any other field trip, they are required to make up any missed work. And the price for all of this is $16.50. So again, about half of Disney World and quite a different experience. So on the next page, I just put the agenda, which includes 1,000,001 things that we can do. The nice thing about Rome is most of it is in walking distance. It's not as spread out as London. We had to do some Ubers and buses and things like that. So this is mostly a walking trip, which is great. Again, the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, Pantheon, you name it, we'll be there. We'll see it. Some great artwork, some great history, some great culture, some yummy food. And again, an amazing experience. This does not support any curriculum per se, like the Shakespeare trip, but obviously it is a crazy enriching experience for all students involved. At this point, I have about a dozen who are interested in attending, and I have 3 chaperones who will also be attending, and they have spouses. So there will be about 11 right now students and 6 adults. So plenty of chaperones to go around. So that's what I'm here to ask for permission to do that trip in February.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds amazing. Do we have questions for
Should we make a
Mary Beth?
motion first and then ask questions?
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the senior travel trip to Rome, February 11th and 17th.
I second.
All right. Discussion?
Can I just
Questions?
ask a quick question?
Of course.
So
Yes, you can come. No.
Students get breakfast and then they're responsible for lunch. And
They
dinner?
are,
Okay.
yep, that was on the original, so I did send out an original permission slip with the note that it'll be pending board approval, but they do know, and I did some research and estimated cost of lunch and dinners. And then, again, the other nice thing is a lot of the attractions are free. So there might be a few that you have to pay, like if you wanted to skip the line to the Vatican, for example, you'd pay a little extra. But the nice thing again in February is the crowds aren't as crazy. If we went in April, which I did consider, the prices double, and our sports season in the spring is really, really difficult. So yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
Does this mean there's no Shakespeare trip this year?
I teach Shakespeare every other year. So I'm hoping to redo that trip next year.
Wonderful.
And then who knows the year after? Until I'm too old to do it.
Well, as most of your trips do, this looks amazing. If there's no other discussion, we can vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Have a wonderful Rome trip.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yay, Anna's going,
you.
so she's excited.
Oh, Anna, you're going on the road. I can't wait for the report. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving right through this agenda tonight. A few months ago, Christine had asked that we have a discussion about the board transition plan. As everybody knows, there'll be at least 2 new board members as Lisa and I will be done after the next meeting. And then I guess there's a possibility for a 3rd new member. There are 4 spots and 5 people running. So at least 2, maybe 3 new board members, but certainly the chair and the vice chair will no longer be on the board. So Christine, do you have thoughts? Do you want to?
I mean, my thoughts are kind of vague, I guess. The last transition I thought was a little rough
It was super rough.
for the board, and being the chair that was going out, it was difficult. So I guess I just thought we could have some open dialogue about what we're looking for from that leadership, where the board is headed moving forward, and maybe, some thoughts of who we think the next person to go into that position might be. If that's premature to start naming people, maybe because of how the election has shook up. Because when I suggested this, I thought we had a pretty solid idea of how that was going to look. Now it might look different. So I don't even know if we should be discussing it at this point. I'm not really sure if we even need to be, but I had asked to put it on. So
For
I
sure.
appreciate that you did that, but I know there's a lot in flux. So if we don't want to discuss it, I get that too. I just, guess would ask that everybody kind of thinks about how they would like that next position to look, and that we do have some open and honest dialogue about it when we get to that point, maybe.
Does anybody want to add to that? All right, Christine, I appreciate.
I would just say, I do
the-
appreciate the idea. It was a tough run
Yes.
2 years ago. And I think that moving forward, we should certainly look to have the process be more open and transparent moving into it. But I think it is hard, especially when we're thinking we don't know what the board's going to look like at the moment, which makes that whole process much more difficult.
I wonder what is the way to have that conversation, because you're right. There's like something about like the direction that the board wants to move that feels like could happen, but when do you have that? Because it's like that first meeting after elections and there's a vote. So I'm not sure the solution, but I appreciate your thoughts about hey, can we do better?
Well, and this year, I think it's a little so different for a lot of reasons, but
Yeah.
also knowing that you're stepping down, we kind of know we have a vacancy. Last time
Yeah.
and times before, we don't know that till,
Mhm.
so maybe even more discussion if there's people that, if we had a seated chair that thought they maybe wanted to stay on or was still interested, but somebody else was interested, that maybe we had some discussion. We open to a change next time, or we have some other people interested in stepping into that role. Obviously we have a vacancy that we
Yeah.
have to fill, so it's a little bit different, but just discussion. I just would like us to continue to work together, being very transparent about even the direction of where the board is moving going forward. So.
Thanks, Christine. That's great. Any other comments on that? Okay. So we have a consent agenda, and we don't usually have the financial report on the consent agenda, but we for this meeting, but we do because we just forgot to put it on last meetings. So that's the financial report that we're talking about here is the one that we talked about the last meeting. So can I have a
I make a
motion?
motion to approve the consent agenda.
Any discussion? Brandon, the only thing I have to add is that my name was just spelled wrong in the body of the minutes somewhere. It's really not a big deal. It just stuck out to me. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Perfect. onto the calendar. Troy, thank you for firming up that calendar. I always feel better. The sooner we get that calendar in, the better. So did everybody see the new, the revisions, giving us the 5:30 meeting on the 2 April Wednesdays? So it's typically that would be our April meeting, but the Board of Finance will have their meeting at 7. So we have regular meetings now scheduled at 5:30. Are people feeling better about that calendar? Okay, want to make a motion?
I move to approve the meeting calendar for 2026.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. You sure down there? Like, Okay, that's great. Now we have that. Feel good that that's done. Next is Board of Ed comments for future agenda items. So Jamie, you had asked about the steep stuff. So I'm going to put that on the next agenda under facilities and finance. And then if they're available, I think it would also make sense for Bern and Randy to come back to discuss the athletic field. That was sort of on that list. If they're ready and available, if they're not, they're not. But that was my sense for how we fit those in. The only other thing I had left on that list was revisiting the parent pickup process at the elementary school. Troy and I chatted about it, and we think it might be a little early and maybe do that like further into November. But other than that, that's the list that I've been working off of. Does anybody have additional stuff? And I'm happy to sort of transition those notes to the next chair so that we don't lose them.
Just last time we talked about a workshop of some sort. Are we still planning on trying to fit that in?
Last time, Patrick volunteered to go to a workshop for new
Oh,
board
that's
members.
right.
In, I think Weathersfield, I think is what it is, the Marriott with the good food. But I do want to mention that the National CABE Convention is on Friday, November 21st. And whoever is a board chair, it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to attend.
Is that the one we went to?
Um,
That was good. Yeah.
And the past board chairs, the last two, have gone to that, and Lisa and Judy have gone to that. So it's really a nice event to interact with board members from other towns. Like pretty much every superintendent in the state is there, and there's some great workshops. So it's tricky because we don't yet know who will be on the board, right? But yet we do have to kind of we could register last minute, right? So it's not till
We can register now though,
We
and
could.
it can be transferable because I was looking at that. You
We
can,
can do
and the 10th, this Friday is when the price goes up.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah, so we could register 1 or 2 board members. In the past, in my experience, we've had 2 board members go each year. So we could reserve, and just put, Blake would just guess on some names. And I mean, if there's people who are on the board now that want to go, but yet there might be new board members that want to go. So I don't know, it's kind of tricky. I'm just throwing it out there.
How expensive is it for someone to attend?
I think for the Friday only, it's what, 3 something?
It's expensive.
Oh, 300
It
and something?
includes lunch and dinner if you
Oh,
stay
Okay.
through dinner. I usually
That was-
stay through dinner because it's like free food.
I was just gonna say, that I've been twice, and I just found the experience to be really energizing. I would highly recommend it to any board member that wanted to go, but $300, I guess it is a lot, but I thought it was an excellent
I think we usually
experience.
capped it at 2,
Yeah,
but I would say if we're gonna just do a placeholder to only register 1. Because even if we have to pay a little extra after the 10th, it's not that much more. And I'd rather pay a little extra for the second than eat $300 because we didn't find a second to attend. Because it
Yeah.
is It's taxpayer money. So,
All right, so I
You want to register one?
will register one.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we have executive session, so we're not going to do.
Wait, sorry. We also need to schedule an executive session.
For next one.
Yes.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
it. Yep.
Okay, great.
So we're going to go into executive session now. So we're going to do public comment first because we're not going to come out of executive session to do anything. We're going to just come out and adjourn. So if there's any public comment in the room, nothing. Any public comment online? None there too. Okay, so we're gonna, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right.